Good day, and let's talk a little bit more about marketing. Admittedly, and I had a couple of students come in and talk to me a little bit, but marketing's not my specialty. I don't teach any of the marketing classes. It's not my forte. I've been involved in marketing when I was in banking. I actually had to do the marketing for the bank, but I'll freely admit I wasn't that good at it. On top of that, I think marketing has changed, and again, admittedly, I'm way behind the times. You're listening to a person who does not own a cell phone, let alone a smartphone, and yet I understand that the world is going mobile. I can see that around me. So while I'm not up to date, I'm not blind to what's going on, and I think that those presences are extremely important, and I wish that I could teach you more about those and help instruct, but that's again just has never been my forte and is not. So feel free, and I encourage you definitely to pursue those areas. While I don't necessarily understand them, I'm more than willing to learn and would love to read about some of those in your projects. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to go through quickly a boring, yeah, I shouldn't call it that, but we'll talk a little bit more about marketing. I said I'd send out a couple of these. None of them are terribly um, are going to contribute terribly, a whole bunch I should say, to your project. So at this point, if you're feeling pretty comfortable with your marketing and you don't want to sit through my little lecture, I guess, about marketing, feel free. Okay, have at it, get it in. The due date's not for a while. If you want to turn it in early and let me give you some feedback, I would be happy to give that a try. I think I've got one in the Dropbox now. Actually, I need to do that for. So, okay, when we talk about marketing strategies, right, and I do think that that's important, and that's one thing I think understand pretty well, is knowing that your company, your firm, should have a strategy. That strategy, generally I break strategies down into two. Either you're going to be a low-cost provider or you're going to be a differentiator. And for most small business, differentiation is the choice. And so your marketing needs to be based on that. And let's keep in mind that marketing is not just advertising, right? So marketing is, if you're going to differentiate, it's your product line. Okay, if you're going to get into athletic wear, and you want to differentiate, you might want to carry Nike, Under Armour, North Face more so than some of the off brands that you might see otherwise, right? Because you're differentiating and you're trying to keep decent products. So the thing is here, what I'm telling you about your marketing plan is make sure that your strategy, your tactics, and those types of things fit in with the overall strategy of your particular business. Excuse me. So, Superior marketing does these things, right? Quickly, pricing differential, that doesn't always mean smaller. You got to package it. Even if you're if you're providing just a service, let's say you're house cleaning. I think I have some of those, but what's the packaging? In that case, you're not actually selling something, but could you show up in a uniform? Yeah, maybe. Anybody watch the Masters golf? I love watching the Masters because of the tradition and those types of things about it. And one of the things that's constant every year is when you look at caddies and other events, they're wearing kind of an apron that denotes the event and maybe the sponsor. At the Masters, they're wearing a white jumpsuit, I guess you would call it. And it's interesting, but that's a part of the packaging, right? And you could certainly do that even if you're providing a service. And if you turn on the TV and you're just flicking channels and you see a caddy with a white jumpsuit, you can almost rest assured that you're watching some part of either the Masters or replays of, or those types of things, right? You got to build customer loyalty, absolutely. Samples, demonstrations, maybe those can be important. I think especially for products, but maybe too for for services. If you're going to do a lawn mowing thing, maybe you'll go mow somebody's lawn for free. Yeah, you might end up mowing a lot of lawns for free, but you might get 2 out of 10 customers, which might be enough as you build those things, and then educate customers. This is important, and I think there were some samples that we talked about in our last little video. Let's say you're going to be a stockbroker, and nobody has that, but could you go to the newspaper then and offer your services to talk about financial planning and those types of things? Absolutely. I think you could, as an attorney, right, educate customers about different things. So the marketing concept, right, special consideration, needs, desires, wishes of present prospective customers. Remember, you have to know who your customers are. So we talked about market segmentation, and knowing that is extremely important. Okay, so customer orientation, focus on the customer needs, vital to success. Goal, you can't lose track of your organizational goals. Where do you want to be? What do you want to provide? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? You got to work together again. Go back to the strategy. So what are the types of things that fit the strategy that you're doing? Identify who your customers are going to be, and that really varies. If I were going to do a house cleaning business, one of the first places I might start would be landlords, right? And because landlords have people moving in and out, and they often either need to clean those themselves or have them cleaned by a professional, or the tenants themselves need to contact somebody. And so if you got in good with the landlords, maybe they would, when a tenant's moving out and the tenant says, well, who should I get to come clean the carpets? Bingo, right? You've got an in there. So, identifying customers, and they're not always that first person that you think of, is extremely important, and determine the needs. Again, as house cleaning, that would be important. And what's the potential? How many of them are there? What do they typically spend? Those types of things. Select the appropriate channel of distribution. So how am I going to get, the word out to them? Okay. How am I going to get my product or service out to them? Those are important ideas. And then evaluate the advertising promotion and how all that kind of fits in. So sources of information, of course, we can use existing information, which we would tend to call secondary research, right? Those are the things that you can look up. If you want to figure out how many people live in Havre that are male between the ages of 35 and 55, if I were going to have a brewery, that's probably who I would assume might be my primary market. I could look that up, I'm sure. I can find that by going through the Census Bureau. Let me give you another link, and it's kind of cool. It's called ePodunk, because it actually tells you some statistics, some basic statistics, but then it has links like to Census Bureau data and whatnot. And sometimes it's a little easier. Their links might take you right to data about the specific town and whatnot, and so it's just ePodunk. So EPODUNK. Primary research is doing things like focus groups, surveys, and the like. Hey, I would love to see. I typically haven't had students go that far, but there's nothing wrong. It's relatively easy, I think. I haven't done it, but to do Survey Monkeys, I get a lot of surveys anymore, even internally here at the college that are from Survey Monkey, that people put it together and ask questions. And why not? Why not get a survey? I mean, would this type of product or service be good? Send it out to people on your mailing list, and let them know you're doing a project and ask them to help you out. Might be kind of cool, right? Specialized techniques can be focus groups, different things like that. Of course, the web, computerized databases. Don't neglect small business development centers, and a couple of you have already talked about that. Visiting with your local SBDC, wonderful. They're going to find information that's maybe easier and set you on the right path to finding information. So primary research, one of the things that some companies are doing, I know I've got a Sears, preferred customer card or something like that. And so every time I buy something from Sears, they scan it. Well, that gives them a good idea of the things that I buy, right? Possibly on a regular basis, and that fits Kmart as well, right? And that's a type of primary research for an existing company. Obviously, it'd be difficult to set that up if you're talking about a new company. However, there's nothing wrong with talking about how you might set that up for your company, okay? And theirs may be complicated that they can scan and whatnot. That may be a little more difficult, may not be for a new company, but there are other things that you can do that would be similar to kind of keep track of, how are you going to, how are you going to track your customers? If you go talk to the landlords, can you set up a pretty simple database that maybe keeps track of them and their rentals and how many referrals you get that way? Sure, you could, right? And that would be a good thing to do. It'd make you know where your business is coming from and where you should concentrate, perhaps. So, marketing strategy, set objectives. Okay, got to do our market segmentation. We've talked about that. Our target markets can shift. We may find out that it's not who we thought, right? And that can happen. And purchasing our supplies and whatnot may differ, as might our customers, right? Make sure you devote plenty of time to talking about the 4 Ps: the product, the place, or distribution, right? The promotion and the price. And remember, the distribution's the whole supply chain. Talk about that, where you're getting your stuff, and it's either its cost, if you're talking about low cost, and you're going to talk about cost to a certain extent anyhow, but also if it's differentiated. Are you going into a cleaning guy that I used to know did ChemDry was the name of the company. Well, it was a company, and their process was supposedly better. Maybe it was kind of like a, instead of shampooing and getting the water and stuff in there that gets things musty and whatnot, maybe it was more like dry cleaning, right? And using chemicals and whatnot, which can be harsh too, but may have some other advantages. And so, I keep using the house cleaning as an example for this one. I don't know why. Maybe you're using a special lawnmower if you got a lawn mowing business or something, right? And where you're getting that, why? Okay, the promotion is the advertising side of things, and then where you're going to price your stuff at. Just a little humor here. Packaging, right? And again, the packaging doesn't just have to be. Most of you did not select, in fact, a particular product that you're going to sell. I got one that I'm interested, and I'm definitely going to want to see and hear what the packaging is. But that's the distillery that somebody is proposing. I'm sure that was for this class, and I think of distinctive things. I'm sure it's Maker's Mark whiskey, right? And how they have the wax or whatever that they have on the top of their bottle. It's distinctive, right? And it lets you know immediately when you see it. It's like the white, jumpsuits for the masters and those types of things. And so, a distinctive packaging can be just huge, right? It can promote the product. It can protect the product or service even. Again, if you're doing cleaning and whatnot, maybe you've got certain things that you wear, and identifies the product, and that's the huge. Okay, can it improve the product convenience? Certainly, and the brand recognition. These all kind of even go up there. Certainly, it'll influence buying decisions, or at least we hope so. Both good and bad, right? Bad packaging would make it the buying decision be contrary to a buying decision, and good packaging could be a positive. So. think the Sharper Image actually went bankrupt, if I'm not mistaken. It used to be kind of a cool little store you could go into because they had, just like the sign says, it was kind of cool crap. I don't know that I ever bought anything from a Sharper Image, but I always enjoyed going in there because they had unique, different types of products. If you go to a website called quirky.com, you'll kind of see something that's kind of similar maybe in terms of the products. So pricing, the 4 C's of pricing, right? Who's your customer? Okay. What's your company's goals, expectations? What's the competition doing? And are there any constraints? Certainly you got to make money. That's always one constraint. And so your cost of your product and whatnot can be an important part of that. Another company that has been through bankruptcy, right? Kmart has been through bankruptcy, and they're maybe not so far away from bankruptcy again, even though they've combined with Sears. And think about this, 25 years ago, Sears and Kmart were separate companies, and they were probably 2 of the top 5 retail companies in the world, and both of them were way ahead of Walmart, okay? And now, boy, have things changed, and they do in retail, okay? So here's some other things that can influence, right? What's the stage of our product life cycle or service? Okay, competition, is it cost oriented? Meaning, here I've calculated my costs and here's what I need to charge to make a reasonable profit now. Okay, can there be flexibility in the pricing, or are you firm? If you're selling coffee and lattes and those types of things, you're pretty firm, right? If you're doing, and I think I got one of those, like house painting, a little different, right? You might go and throw out $1,500. Maybe the fella comes back and says, $1,300. And so you settle it at $1,400. Okay. Suggested retail prices, if your manufacturers that you're buying from or wholesalers have that price, doesn't mean you have to follow it. Okay. A list price is what you put. Prestige pricing is when you actually charge more for a product because you want it to appear to be a better product, just simply because of what you're charging, and that can have merit, believe it or not. Price leader is the opposite, right? You're charging or you're charging less. Okay, bait pricing. Have you ever been to one of those? Oh God, my wife and I got hosed on our honeymoon. We were down in California. It's another reason I don't like Californians. But anyhow, saw the sign and it said, boy, prime rib dinner or something like that, $7.95. This was a long time ago. We're like $7.95 each, and so we bought into it and went in, got seated. And it was a nice enough place. And of course, the waiter came over and took our drink order and whatnot, and then came back a little bit later and what would you like? Oh, we'd both like the special, of course, $7.95. Oh, we're all out of that. And this is pretty early in the evening. It's like, bull crud. And what'd they do? They baited us in. Yeah, probably be illegal. But who was gonna go after them, right? Odd pricing. So you price things just of a funky price just to try to attract some attention, I guess. Psychological pricing, that's gas, right? I mean, let's face it, gas is $1.70 a gallon, right? But what do you see? 169.9. Okay. So you fill up 10 gallons and it's a 1 penny difference at 0.9, right? Okay, that's called psychological pricing. Price lining, I'm not even sure what price lining is, sorry. And demand-oriented pricing, that's and we all do that. We've seen it in this year, let's say, in some of the seasonal things. Okay, I like to ski and whatnot. I'm an outdoors person, and what happened this year in north central Montana? Not a hell of a lot of snow, right? And poor Master Sports, that ordered in a lot of those things, and I feel for them. They ordered in a lot of gear and that type of stuff, and what happened? Difficult to sell it when it's 50 above zero outside. Nobody needs winter clothes or ski stuff for sure, and so. Did they lower the price? Oh, absolutely. Actually got a pretty good deal on some new ski pants and stuff. So the markup as a percentage of cost, the amount of markup, the dollar amount of the markup divided by the cost of the item. So markup is different than gross profit. what we will see, and so if you're talking about this in your marketing plan, this is really important. Let's take, I'll just use athletic shoes for example. I would guess that the markup on athletic shoes is close to 100%, meaning that the athletic shoe store is buying that shoe for $50 and selling it for $100. Okay, that's 100% markup. It's a 50% gross profit, right? So the gross profit is calculated on the sales price. You sell it for $100. Your cost is $50. Your gross profit is $50. Okay, so try to make sure you keep those two straight. I tell you, I could have had a lot of free dining when I was a child, if that were the case. So, small business price setting service firms, yeah, that's going to vary. It's going to be a lot more on the competition and those types of things. Probably cost based, I would think. Cost based, time based. Your time being part of your cost. Retailers, yeah, customary unit. Could you have some lost leaders in your business? Sure, nothing wrong with that. If I were a bakery, for example, might I, maybe I sell my coffee for 50 cents. Try to get people in the door. And have some good coffee at 50 cents and free refills and get them in the door. Maybe they'll buy some donuts or whatever. Wholesalers, don't have any wholesalers, I don't think, but again, it's you're going to deal mostly with competition and those types of things. So building contractors cost plus, and we got some folks thinking about doing different types of contracting, whatever it may be, right? You figure out, of course, what your costs are, and your costs are two. They are the product, the wood, all the other types of whatever might be going in, depending on the type of contracting business, and then you just add a certain percentage. Okay, and oftentimes contractors don't add a lot on the product side. If somebody's doing my roof, I'm certainly going to pay full value for the roof, and then I'm going to pay the contractor for his time, okay, and his workers' time, okay. But oftentimes they will build in a bit of a profit too on the actual sale of the item. Okay, if you're painting, and I think we got a painter in this group, right? You might add up your paint. To paint somebody's house might be $250 worth of supplies. You might charge them $300, right? And then the rest of it would be labor. So marketing services, again, what's the nature of the service? Are you providing service to individuals, house cleaning versus cleaning businesses, right? How are you differentiating your service? Okay, if your service is really good and that's what you're portraying, don't make it too cheap then. Okay, again, marketing service strategy. How much contact do you have with the customer? Are you the primary supplier of that service? Pricing, it depends on these things, and we've kind of gone over a lot of those, right? Marketing a bail bond service, that's always kind of interesting. I think you just want to hang some flyers at the jail. That might be one of the cheaper businesses to market. There you go. Hopefully I didn't take too much time. 23 minutes, that's not too bad to talk a little bit about marketing. Hopefully that helped a little bit. Keep things together, keep things in line. Talk in some detail about those things. This again, I didn't talk about some of the new opportunities, the Facebook, the mobile, the Snapchat, the Twitter. I don't do any of those. I don't do Facebook. I don't do mobile. I don't do any of those things. I would love to hear about those things from you guys, because I truly think that that's where marketing is going, and so for that reason, yeah, I would love to hear and learn more about it, and I'll let you guys be the teachers there. Thanks. Have a good week. We'll probably talk to you briefly next week.